Hey guys, welcome back to Flirting with Meaning. I wanted to talk about online dating today. Last night, I decided to get back onto the dating apps because the loneliness is all consuming. The darkness is all consuming. By the way, my car has a fruit fly infestation. They're like float around my car and land on my face when I'm driving and like tickle my face. Anyways, so online dating is what I wanted to talk about today. My mind has been all over the place lately, so I'm just gonna read exactly what I wrote, and it's pretty much about online dating fatigue. Okay, this is kind of funny. I wrote, in the past, when I'd open the Hinge app, that was me clocking in. All the liking and disliking, sifting and plotting and scheming and investigating. It felt like a full-time job, and I'd feel just exhausted afterwards the same way I do at my real job. It would get draining though because I never got anything out of it. Like at my job, at least I get a paycheck for all that misery. So, I wanted to talk about what this says about modern dating culture and how it affects us on an emotional and even existential level. Because online dating isn't just about finding someone, it's about how we relate to ourselves in the process. Think about the first time you downloaded a dating app. If you haven't ever downloaded one before, then this probably means nothing to you. But if you have downloaded a dating app, the first time, did it feel exciting or full of possibility, or did it feel intimidating from the start? Did you already know about all the kinds of people that exist on dating apps? Because there's kind of a reputation of the people who are on those apps. But I'll get into that later. So, the hopeful beginning. The first time you download a dating app, it feels like an opportunity. You're suddenly connected to hundreds, maybe thousands of people in your area. There's that initial rush. Maybe this is where I'll meet somebody. Maybe this is gonna be my story. Plot twist. It never was my story, and it feels fun at first, crafting your profile and picking your photos and getting those first few matches. It's exciting, honestly. It's like a dopamine rush. It really is a dopamine rush. And it's like this possibility that you might meet someone special and be free from the shackles of crippling loneliness. But over time, that energy shifts, and what once felt like possibility starts to feel like pressure. The pressure to present yourself perfectly, pressure to keep conversations interesting, pressure to not get ghosted. When in reality, you can't control who ghosts you, but there's that pressure to always try and say the right thing so that you don't get ghosted. But I feel either way, it's inevitable. I remember, maybe I shouldn't say this part. I made a fake account as a man on Hinge to see who my competition was. And I wanted to see what the other girls, the men I was swiping for, would be seeing. And let me tell you, that was so discouraging. I was like, okay, now I see why nobody is responding to my messages. When I tell you, I saw the most beautiful girls, ballerinas, models, and then there's me with my raggedy old hair and dark circles under my eyes. And that's on a good day. On top of that, I'm convinced these people join apps because they have some sort of ghosting fetish, or maybe I'm just telling myself that to feel better, but I don't think I've ever had a full conversation on the dating apps without being ghosted. There was one time somebody matched me, and they messaged me first and said hi. I responded back, hey, how are ya? They unmatched me. I'm like, I'm sorry, did I, huh? At that point, you can't even think, like, was it something I said? Because I literally just said hello, and that happens all the time. It's almost comical. So the cycle continues and the fatigue starts. Swipe, match, chat, fizzle. Swipe, match, ghost, swipe, match. Mini situationship that ends in 3 days. Or one date where the vibes are off and you never speak again, but possibly add each other on social media and just quiet watch stories. And then you start to realize it's not about meeting somebody for most people. It's about the stamina, and most of us run out of stamina fast. Back to the point I made earlier, dating apps can feel like a second full-time job with the bios, the photos, all the banter and scheduling. For me, banter requires so much energy. Don't get me wrong, I can be a comedian, but I cannot deny the socially awkward allegations. And then there's the highs of a good match and the lows of rejection. It's emotionally expensive. I don't know if you remember when we were talking about being in energetic debt. It's kind of like that, where you're using all these emotions and you're running out of the bank of energy, and you just feel drained afterwards. I remember waiting for somebody I really liked to like me back, and they never did, and I felt like I'd have to settle. When in reality, the person I was settling for is probably an amazing guy in real life. But for some reason, when I see somebody online, it's like you already build an image of who they are before you even meet them. And I feel like that also can be kind of damaging, because even if you put your best foot forward, put all your best pictures and your best descriptions, you can't control how someone is going to create a narrative around you just by perceiving that. So a lot of people talk about choice overload, and this can backfire. Dating apps promise abundance, but sometimes abundance is exhausting, and psychologists call it choice overload. When you have too many options, your brain doesn't get happier, it gets more stressed. It's kind of like scrolling through Netflix. Maybe a couple minutes later, 10, 20 minutes later, you've read 100 descriptions and watched 10 trailers, and you still haven't picked a show. Dating apps can feel the same way. Too many people, too many profiles, too many what ifs. Instead of deepening our connection, it just makes us restless. Did a big truck just park behind me, bro? But honestly, yeah, that also is a reason why Netflix stresses me out, because it takes me so long to find something I want to watch, and I just end up not being able to pick anything, and I just end up watching YouTube. So let's talk about the emotional toll and rejection. Rejection hurts in real life, but it's usually a moment. Online, rejection is constant and low grade. You don't even always know you're being rejected. Sometimes it's silence, sometimes it's being ghosted, or sometimes it's just a match who vanishes. It chips away at your energy little by little, and eventually just opening the app feels very heavy. Not because you're not worthy, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're human, and no human was built to handle this much constant rejection or indifference on a loop. Dating apps also shifted how we think about relationships. Swiping has gamified human connection. It's a bit dehumanizing sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. I'll be real, I've felt this. I've deleted apps, I've re-downloaded them, I've just been on hiatus and kept them on my phone. I've told myself, this time it'll be different. I'm kind of telling myself that it'll be different this time. I don't know. Have you ever noticed how people will say, I don't even like these apps, but I'm scared to delete them? It's the fear of missing out on a connection, even if most of the time it feels exhausting. You might have even had one almost story, a great match or a great conversation, but then it fizzled. And that almost keeps you going back, even when it's 99% fatigue and 1% excitement. So why does this fatigue happen? Emotional energy spread too thin, ghosting and rejection piling up invisibly. And the truth is, most people on these apps aren't even in the same place emotionally. Some want hookups and some want validation, some want long-term love. And the tricky thing is that a lot of people will kind of disguise what they're looking for in order to get what they want. I know some people, well, I've seen some people based off experience who will put that they're looking for a long-term relationship, and then you go up and meet with them and they're only looking to hook up, which is not okay. But then there's the opposite, where people will say they're looking for short-term and then try and get into a long-term relationship with that person, and that also is not okay. Some people feel as though they have to turn to manipulative tactics in order to find success on the dating apps because they are so tricky to navigate. But here is a possible reframe. Fatigue isn't some sort of failure. It just means that you care, and it means that you want something deeper, and it means that you're not satisfied with surface level interactions and you're craving something real. So feeling tired and fatigued, it doesn't mean you're undateable. Just because you're dealing with all this rejection from dating apps, you're not undateable. It's the toxicity of the dating apps themselves and how dating culture has shifted because of them. So that fatigue, it just means you've recognized that what you're doing isn't giving you what you need. And that clarity, to me, I feel like is powerful. And if you're feeling burned out, it's okay to step away. You know, they say people can meet through hobbies, classes, travel, family, friends. That ain't never worked for me once, honey. The only time I've ever been able to form a connection with a guy is when they're my coworker. Does that say something about me? I have to feel the vibe of the person. I have to feel their energy and their vibe to understand who they are. I have to see them in certain situations and see how they act, see how they respond to things. I need to see what their work ethic is like. I don't know. I'm a Scorpio rising. My Venus is in Virgo. If you know anything about astrology, that probably will make a lot of sense. If you don't, that probably means absolutely nothing to you. And yeah, sometimes I feel like stepping back from the apps every once in a while can give you back some energy and perspective. You can recover from the dating fatigue, the burnout. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself. I don't know. I truly don't feel like a human sometimes based off how much I get rejected and ghosted, because trying to meet somebody on a dating app, it feels like a job to find love. Love was never supposed to feel like a job. It shouldn't feel like a job. If you do feel the burnout from dating apps or the way dating culture has twisted, it's okay to take a pause, take a rest, and recuperate. You'll recharge, and it's okay to take a break. You're not wasting time just because you're not constantly searching for love. I had to take a break, and I was lonely, and I'm still lonely, but I feel like I have a little more stamina. We'll see how it goes. I'll give you guys updates. That's pretty much everything I wrote about me venting about online dating. I am still going to try because, once again, I live in the middle of nowhere. I don't have friends, so there's not really any other options for me. I've never actually known what it feels like to be loved in real life. I just gotta lock in. It's a big ass truck behind me, bro. What is that? It's a New York Giants truck. Do you think the New York Giants are in that truck? I'm going to talk more about this type of topic because it's something that I'm really passionate about. But so I'm going to try online dating again. I don't really have high hopes, but I'm going to do it anyway just to see. And I guess we'll see what happens. I guess that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today specifically, but I'll be back next week and we'll talk more. Maybe we'll talk more about this. Maybe there'll be other things that come up that we'll talk about as well. I'm gonna lock in, guys. I gotta do my university work. Next semester is my last semester, so I really need to lock in. If you can relate at all, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you guys want to hear about next, and I'll see you next week.